Hello, my name is Zainab and I did my master's in the University of Bristol. If you're planning to study at Bristol or you're already a student there, one of your biggest problems is most likely accommodation. It most likely is the main thing on your mind. It's very overwhelming, the process, finding the right place, if you even find a place in the first place. It stresses everyone out. So don't worry, I'm here to make things as easy for you as possible. So the University of Bristol actually has a lot of helpful information on their official website about accommodation. But because, like I said, it's a lot of information, so it can be very overwhelming and you might miss important details. Because I remember before I got my admission, when I was looking on their website, it was helpful information, but then there's just a whole lot of tabs and sub-tabs and just a whole lot of things. So in this video, I'm going to make it super easy for you. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you step by step through the website. I'm going to show you each and everything, what it means, literally breaking it down into simple terms and not the complicated English, and also giving you my personal tips and advice as I walk you through the website. I'll even go as far as showing you the different buildings that the universities offer for accommodation, as well as the room types in each building. As you can see, the video is going to be very long and we would play some videos that just has more information. So it's just going to be a whole lot. We'll cover like the costs, things that you should not, the deadlines, things that would apply to you, preferences. There are a few little details that I have found that are just very important to know. And also, if you're interested, I have another video on my channel where I give a very detailed review of the student accommodation I lived in Bristol. That video, everyone loved it apparently. I don't know, it has the highest views on my channel. Everyone says it's helpful, so I think it's really helpful. So you should definitely check it out. You would get to see like a real life experience of living in the university student accommodation with videos and everything. So yeah, that's that. Don't forget to check that video out. I'll link it in the description below. So yeah, grab a cup of tea or snack. You can also get your laptop if you want to follow along, and let's make it easier for you to find your student accommodation. So this is the main university's website for accommodation. Anything you need to find on that, you would find it here. We would be covering all these, the main relevant ones that apply to us. So about their accommodation, how to apply the process, and for current residents. I have been through this section. We would also be covering this because there are important information there, even if you're not a current resident and you're just coming into the university. So let's start with the about their accommodation. I'll click on the cost first. I have been through this. It's important, but I just want to get into the most important part. So the accommodation cost. So for the cost of the accommodation, one of the most important things for you to know is that utility and bills are included. So you don't need to pay for internet, you don't need to pay for light or gas. This is very important for during winter. One of the best things about university accommodation is during winter, you can literally, you're so comfortable, you don't have to worry about any light bills compared to people who are living in private accommodation. So yeah, and basically what they're saying here is the cost of the accommodation is based on the type of room that you decide to choose, how good the room is, the condition, so whether it's recently refurbished or also, and if the facilities of the room are up to date, the location of the residence, stuff like that. So that is what you're paying for. The next thing is the cost of the accommodation is fixed for each tenancy. So by tenancy, they mean you're going to be paying for August 2025 to September 2026. So that's the tenancy, the duration for which you're going to be staying at that accommodation, and it's fixed. One thing I think is very important for you to know is that you cannot change your tenancy. It's very fixed, like they're so strict about it. So you need to make sure that when you're choosing your accommodation, it needs to align with your needs. So when you would be leaving the city. So for example, let me give you an example. My tenancy was from September 2024 to August 2025, but by the time it was August, I had not finished my dissertation. I was still in school, but then I had to leave my student accommodation. So I needed to find a place. So you need to take note of things like this, because you might still have some things to do in school and then your tenancy has finished and you need to start looking for another place. Also, if you're an undergraduate student, there are different accommodations for each semester, or if you're a pre-sessional student, so just keep that in mind. You need to pay £500 if you're a postgraduate applicant when you accept a room offer. But if you're not postgraduate, so for example, for undergraduate students and scholarship applicants, you don't need to pay any rent advance. You can just come in when your course starts. But apart from that, for postgraduate, once you accept an offer, you need to pay them £500 to confirm that, and then that money would be removed from your first rent. If you decide to cancel your tenancy before you arrive, then they're going to refund your money, so you don't need to worry about that. I just like refunds for some reason. And you know how I said the whole tenancy thing is very fixed and they're strict about it? Do you know that if you decide to, for example, leave before the end of the tenancy, you would still have to be paying rent? So you just need to be very careful about that and make sure that whatever you're agreeing to meets all your needs. Like you see, they said it here, you need to continue paying rent. A way to work around it is if you're able to find someone to replace you, but then that person, the university would have to accept that person. They need to meet all the requirements, and they also have to be a UOB student, basically, which is very difficult to find because, I don't know, it's just difficult. So just don't even get yourself involved in something like that in the first place. And another thing, if you damage anything before you leave, you're going to have to pay for it. A huge tip that I have is when you move in, you need to take a picture of everything. And by everything, I mean everything, even if it's just a scratch on the wall, because I had to pay £100 for a chair that I did not damage. I talked about it in the video I made reviewing my accommodation. I don't want to talk about it here, it's too long, but just know that when you move in, take a picture of everything, because at the ending of the year when you're leaving, even if you do not damage it, they're going to say that you're the one that damaged it and you would have to pay for it. So take a picture of everything, the conditions that you made, because not everything would be perfect. Does that make sense? If you also use student loans, it's very advisable that you visit the student finance website. Here, this is the link. You can click it if it applies to you. And if you also struggle with just money management, they offer money and budgeting support, so you can also click that. I feel like as students, we all suffer with it. Oh my God, why do I keep saying as students? I still feel like a student because I do a lot of these student review videos. So doing the research still makes me feel like a student. And here what they're trying to say is you also need to tell them the amount, so the maximum amount that you can pay for accommodation. So for example, if the maximum you can do, let's say, is £8,000 for a whole year, there's a whole form that they're going to give you where you're going to fill that in. So you need to put that you can only afford, let's say, maximum £8,000 or £9,000, and then they would find a room for you within that budget, because what they're trying to avoid is they don't want to give you a room, for example, that's £10,000, and then that's not within your budget, you can't afford it. So make sure that you're being very honest, because it's very difficult to find a place, and then when you end up finding it and they give it to you, for example, you can't afford it, that's a problem. So yeah, we're done with this section. Let's move on to the next one. So types of rooms, this is a whole thing on its own, very complicated, but do not worry, we would simplify it. The main thing I need you to know here is that on the university's website, when you're applying, when you click on this link, we would go there later on, you can actually give them your preference. So you can tell them what type of room you want, how you want certain things, if you have certain requirements. So you can be like, oh, you want a shared bathroom, you want to share with another person, or you want your own bathroom. You can also, like I highlighted here, you can look for a gender neutral place, or you want a same sex. So for example, I lived in a same sex flat. If you also have any needs or accessibilities, they have adaptable rooms. You just need to request for that and write that in the preference. So let's get into the specific rooms. So this is a single room. They have better looking rooms than this one. I don't know why they decided to. But yeah, so for a normal single room, you would have your own room, but then you would need to share your toilet and kitchen space. This is a single room for a specific residence, a specific type of accommodation. It's called Clifton Hill House. Honestly, I think the best way to know the actual layout of your room is to know which specific accommodation you're going to, because they have almost 30 or so, I don't know. So each type of accommodation or residence have their own different layout. So for example, here they are saying that some single rooms have sinks. Does that make sense? But then some single rooms don't have sinks. So it's relative. So don't go with what you're seeing for another building and think it's going to apply to your own building, because you might go to another building and you might not get a sink, or your type of single room might be totally different from the single room of another building. Here, like they said, you're going to share a bathroom with your flatmates, and they said they clean shared bathrooms. If I'm being honest, from my own experience, the accommodation I lived in, it was a shared bathroom, but no one ever cleaned it. I lived in a 2-bed flat. No one came to clean it. People who shared other bathrooms with other people, no one cleaned it. So just don't rely on this. Just know that you're going to do your own cleaning. If they end up doing it, then that's fine. Also, another important thing, if for example, you're a certain height, let's say you're very tall or you're maybe chubby, you can also add that in the preference section for your when applying, because like they said, some of the beds are single or double, and as you can see here, they didn't even say double, they said small double. So just so you don't inconvenience yourself, you need to state that. The next room is an ensuite room. So an ensuite room is basically a room that has your own bed space, your desk and everything, but you have your own toilet in your room. You know how in the single room I said you would be sharing a toilet and kitchen, but for an ensuite, the case is you don't share your toilet. You have your own toilet in your own room. So you would have your room, your own toilet and your desk, but then you would be sharing kitchen space. Does that make sense? But it would still be in a shared flat. Each and every person would have their own toilet and their room, but then you guys would be sharing a kitchen and a living space. So a living room where there's just a sofa. Some do have TVs. It depends on how expensive the place is. So yeah. And like they said here, an ensuite would normally cost more than a single room. The bed sizes are single or small double. From what I know, mostly ensuites, the bed sizes are double, but just cross check with them if you're a bit particular about beds, because for me, that's my thing. You see here, they're being very honest. They're like, you're going to be responsible for cleaning your own ensuite and toilet and everything. So yeah. The next one is a twin room. So this twin room is prioritized for people who have lower budgets. So it's not going to be a single room where it's just you. It's going to be a room where it's 2 of you in the room, and both of you would be sharing a bathroom with flatmates. So even though it's 2 of you in the room, it would not be like an ensuite where you would have your own toilet in the room. You would still have to share a bathroom with other people. So this is for if you're on a lower budget, and mostly it's of the same gender, and each of you would have your own single bed, your desk and your cupboard space. So if you do have a lower budget, just know that this is an option, even though honestly it can be tricky because you don't know who you're going to be paired with. They might be a crazy person, not crazy, but then just pray that it's someone that you like and you can vibe with. The next one, this is my favorite type of room. It's a studio room. It's definitely more expensive, like they said, higher budget, and it's also for students who have specific type of accommodation needs. If you have specific needs, it's just better for you to get a studio room. So a studio room is a room where you have your own toilet, you have your own kitchen, you have your own living space. It's basically like you're in a house, but then it's smaller than a house. Everything of yours, it's in your own space. You have your own desk and everything. As you can see, this is it. Something like this. It's never big. Does that make sense? It's never big like a flat or an apartment, but then it's bigger than a single room normally, and you would have everything that you need. As you can see here, they have an oven, kitchen space. There would be a desk space somewhere. I doubt if this is the only, I think this is their idea of, let's say, a dining. This would be the bed. The bed is normally always big. So yeah, that's that. They normally like to leave this type of room for postgraduate students. I did hardly give it to undergraduate students. They do sometimes, but then mostly it's for postgrads. What they're explaining here is that you cannot specifically choose a certain type of room grade that you want. So you can't be like, oh, I want this specific room. They're going to give you a room based on the availability and the maximum cost, what you can afford, which is why I said have an idea of what is the maximum money you can spend on accommodation. So they would choose a room for you based on that. Another really important thing, like I have been saying, is preference. Make sure that you're writing things that are important to you, and also just to give a reason. So for example, if you're a Muslim and you want to have a same gender flat, even if you're not sharing a twin room, if you're having a single room where you would have to share bathrooms, you would want a flat where it's all girls. Does that make sense? Don't just say that, oh, I want a same gender flat. Say that you want a same gender flat because you're a Muslim, because of your culture and religion and values. Then you would have more of an advantage of getting it over someone who maybe most likely just wants it for personal reasons. Not that it's a bad thing, but just giving a reason makes you more likely to get it. So forget about the whole same gender thing. Whatever it is that your specific needs. Another example is if you're saying that you want a large double bed or you don't want a single bed, you need to explain to them that, oh, you're very tall or you're chubby, you have a lot of weight, stuff like that. Don't just be like, oh, I want a double bed. Yeah, so that's all I'm trying to say. Another thing they're trying to explain here is the grades of their rooms. So they have the basic grade. So these are rooms that are not really refurbished. They don't have the newer facilities or lightings or beds or chairs. So for example, I think this is what you would call a basic room. Let me show you. You see this one? It looks really old, like an old house. This is a very basic room. That's the grade it is. And then they also have this standard or classic. Then the standard plus, premium plus, or deluxe. So like I said, these are the rooms that they've been recently refurbished. They've done a lot of changes in this room, better equipment and facilities. And for example, it would be this type of room. As you can see, there's a clear difference between this type of room and, for example, this one. This is also a basic room. This is way better. This can also be a recently refurbished, so it's part of the premium. So with these grades, what they're saying is these types would also be more expensive. So they're not only charging you based on, this specific, so they're not only charging you based on the size of the room or the type of room you choose. They're also charging you based on the grades you choose, whether a room was recently refurbished, whether it has premium facilities. So that's that. Here they're saying that they provide bedding and towels for rooms and they wash the bedding every 2 weeks. You get fresh. If I'm being honest, this is not my experience. Genuinely, no one came to give me new bedding. No one washed anything. So it's possible, like I said, for maybe other buildings, it's possible that this has happened, but this was not part of. And mine was very expensive. My accommodation was expensive. It was really nice. Like I said, I've made a video about it. Check it out. I think if they really did this, then my accommodation would be part of the ones that they did, because I lived in one of those premium rooms. So there's another type of room here and they call it studio. Oh, this is actually the one I lived in. But for me, we never called it studio. It was called a 2-bed flat. So it's 2 rooms and then you would share one toilet. So you guys are kind of in your own bubble. You're in your own kind of flat or apartment. You won't have access to not that you won't have access to other people, but you guys would be sharing one kitchen and one toilet, but everyone would have their own room. I really liked it. But it depends, like I said, if you find someone you like. So we're done with this section. Let's move on to the next one. So next section is flat types, which I really love. But what they mean by this is they offer specific type of entire flat. So not just rooms, for people who have specific preferences. So for either cultural reasons, so for example, no alcohol flats, single sex flats. So you see all these flats, they cater to certain needs, which, like I said, in that form where you're filling in for your application, you need to state this. I think is really good because, for example, the no alcohol one, no one can bring anything into the flat. Single sex flat, it's going to be only female or only male, although guests can visit, but then they would just have to, there's a policy, I don't want to get into it, but you would also have to just give notice and stuff like that. So yeah, this is good. Moving on, I think as we're covering it, we can see that like it's not that complicated. It's just a lot of information. But yeah, moving on, let's go to the catered accommodation. So basically what catered accommodation means is they're going to be feeding you like a baby. Sorry, I'm joking. But what they do in catered accommodation is they provide meals every day. So 2 times in a day. They even have meal times. So as you can see, the types of meals. So for example, Monday to Friday, this is breakfast time and dinner. And they don't offer lunch. Oh my God, they don't offer lunch. What happened? Why? Wow, interesting. On weekends, they offer lunch. Interesting. So let's see. So just note that catered accommodation basically means they're going to be giving you food. That's it, as simple as that. So Monday to Friday, they give you breakfast and dinner, and during the weekends, it would be breakfast and lunch, and these are the timings. So this is the type of foods that they give you. You can read through it. If you have any allergy and food requirements, you can tell them. If you have any guests or visitors, you can buy the food. They also don't have any dress code in the dining rooms, and they would be giving you a meal card, just stuff like this. So that is for people who want to live in a catered accommodation. I did not live in a catered accommodation. Here they're just, it's more of an overview of everything that they would be giving you. So this is what the breakfast entails. This is the lunch and dinner. And they're also saying that their meals are cooked by award-winning catering team. So yeah, I can't really comment on how good the food is, honestly, because I've never tried any catered food from the comms. Oh, this is interesting. So they also do like themed meals for either during Christmas or Diwali or New Year. Another good thing here for Muslims is they only use halal chicken and lamb, and they don't use nuts in their kitchen if you have any allergies. They also provide meat, vegetarian and plant-based options for every meal. Another important thing is the flats that are in the catered residence. So if you're going to live in the catered one, they don't have a kitchen. So you know how we were talking about other flats where I'm like, oh, there's a kitchen, a shared kitchen. If you're in a catered accommodation, they don't have a kitchen, but instead they have a small pantry where you can like put your snacks and prepare snacks, so like cereal, stuff like that. So I think if you like to cook your food, catered accommodation is not the best for you. And this is a review from students who lived in the catered accommodation. Do you guys want to listen to it? I think we can listen to a little part of it so you can get an overview. Let me open it.
Now I'm here for breakfast at Churchill Hall, where I usually go. There's always menu out here telling you what's for today. Good morning. We always have a full cooked breakfast. Here we have eggs, sausages, bacons, potatoes, mushrooms, and then from time to time you'll see burritos and egg benedicts. And on Friday you'll see pancakes and waffles, which are my favorite. And on this side of the table, we got selections of pastries. Here we have the cereals. And over here, we have the selections of toast. I think this guy will be very, very impressed. Now I'm gonna get some drinks. Come with me. So this is a drink station. We have here sparkling water, milk, oat milk, coffee, tea, and the juice station. I'm gonna get myself an orange juice today. So when you first start uni, you don't know anyone. So coming into the dining hall and sitting and eating with your friends together can be a good way to form that friendship bond. Good morning, hello. Now let me take you behind the scenes to meet one of the amazing chefs that prepares this delicious food for us.
We have 29 chefs working at Bristol University, and in our cater halls we have 5 chefs in each one. We provide a 6-week menu cycle. All of our chicken across the board is halal. Each day we provide a meat, a vegan, and a plant-based option. We're really passionate here at Bristol University about sustainability. We carbon map all of the food we provide for the students. We will accommodate any dietary requirements they have.
Now we understand more about the catering operations.
So yeah, that's that. I just wanted us to see how the catered is. Honestly, it looks pretty good. It seems like they have a very good variety, and I love the fact that they've taken into consideration the whole halal options and vegetarian, which is really good. They have said here that they have 5 catered residents, and you can tell them when applying whether you want self-catered or catered. So yeah, I don't think we need to go into selecting the residents. So on to the next section, self-catered, which is the one I lived in. So we already know the students in self-catered, we cook our own meals. Why am I saying we? But they cook their own meals and have their shared kitchens or their own personal kitchen if they live in a studio. So this is basically everything that a kitchen would contain. So they would give you a kettle, toaster, microwave, oven and hob, refrigerator, freezer, dining table, and chairs. So with each cupboard in the kitchen, each student would also have a cupboard space and fridge. This is honestly for if you're sharing like a huge kitchen with multiple people, but if you have your own, if you're in a studio or a 2-bed flat, it would just be 2 of you sharing a kitchen, so that wouldn't be a problem. This is actually something interesting. I didn't know this. So if you're not living in a catered accommodation and you're living in self-catered, you can actually decide to buy a catering package, and then I think it's a pass they would give you, so you would be able to go to the dining room for those residences, and you're going to be able to eat 2 meals every day. So this would be good for you if you want to live in a self-catered accommodation, but you also want sometimes to get the whole catering package, which is nice. So what they're saying here is the packages are not available yet, so you just need to register your interest from mid-July. Right now we're in 6th July, so you need to be checking their websites regularly for updates. This is the price if you decide to buy the meal package. Like I said, for 1 week it's £75 and 38 weeks is 2,652. So all these are the prices of how much it would cost you if you decide to buy a catering package. That you could choose either the dining room ones. They have a price for a week or 38 weeks. Just note that if you're paying for 38 weeks, you can only choose one residence. But if you're paying for 1 week, it could be any of the residences that you want. And here they also have for cafes and bars. And these are the prices. So yeah, that's that. We're done with this. I think we're making progress. Next is residence locations. So this section is basically about the location of their residence. They're saying that most of their residence is in Bristol, and their residences are within a walk or bus journey to the city centre and the main campus. They're all in the centre, around the centre, so it's very easy for you to get to the campus. But still, I would definitely advise that anyone you get, you put the actual location in your maps and you can see how long it would take you. Because for me, it wasn't close. My residence was still in the center. Does that make sense? But then my department was actually in Clifton, so it took me like 45 minutes walk to get to my campus. But then if I'm taking a bus, it's very quick, so it's relative. So if you're somebody who is a bus person, you like to take the bus, it would be easier for you. But if you would be walking, it might feel a bit farther than it seems. So yeah, just cross check that. One thing is, if you are also a veterinary student, they have one residence in Langford, so it's not in the center, it's in the countryside near Bristol. So this specific residence, Langford, that's the name. This is it. Yep, let's get back. You can also view the address for all their residences here. You can do a virtual tour and see the campus map. So for example, let's look at the virtual tour, just so you can have this thing. Oh, I love this. Nice. So you see, this is the campus and you can look around it. So these things here are specific accommodations and the name. So for example, if your accommodation is Campbell House, you click on it, you can see how it looks, what they have. Does that make sense? If your accommodation is, let's say, the courtrooms, you can look at it, you can see what they have in there, you can read about it. If you click more info, it will take you to another link, right? You can also use your cursor to zoom in. So on your trackpad, you see, you can zoom in. You see what I think this is like, I can't remember the name of this place, but I've been here before. Yes, so let's get back to, as you can see, for example, this, let me zoom out first. You see from here, like around here, we can call it like kind of the center around the campus. One thing I want you to know is that the departments for University of Bristol, they're scattered around a certain area. So it's not like a building where you go through a gate and then everything is there. Your department might be actually, for example, near Sainsbury's, because that's my department. It might be in another total location. You might have classes in different places all around the campus, so it's not in one place. So for example, you see here on the outskirts, as you can see, I don't know if you can notice, but it's like it's the city. There are other things here. For example, this East Residential Village, I'm unable to zoom, I don't know why, but yeah, I just want you to know that, you see, like there are other things. Oh, this is Wills Memorial, you guys, this is my favorite building, please visit it, it's so nice. So with the Wills Memorial here, there's, I think this is where some of our libraries are. So there's Senate House, there's, I think here or here, there's Senate House and other libraries. But then there's some departments, and then there's, yeah, so let me not keep repeating myself, but just know that there's a whole lot going on. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, that was that. Back to the main page. I also want us to look at this residence address. Let me exit this. Now, perfect. So this is all their residents. As you can see, 36 residents. I want you to look at this. So this is the filter here. You can filter to undergraduate or postgraduate. So this is important because you avoid a situation whereby you look at a place and you like it and you put your hopes up, but then you did not know that it's not for you. So you see, I've clicked undergraduate. All these are for undergraduate students, all of them. Then if you remove it and you click postgraduate, these ones are the ones that are postgraduate, 16 residents. And you know, we've talked about the whole self-catered and catered, so you can also choose from that. I've also explained to you the whole single rooms, the ensuite. Just a little reminder, single room, your own room alone, but you're sharing a toilet and kitchen. The ensuite, your room and toilet, but then you're sharing a kitchen. The twin rooms is two of you in one room. You're sharing a toilet and kitchen with other people. Studio room, everything is yours. You're basically a king and a queen. That's rich people things. So you have your own kitchen, your toilet, everything basically. So that's a studio room. I don't know whether we should click on one so that I can just show you how to navigate when you click on an. Oh my god, you guys, let's click on this. This was my accommodation, literally. Oh, I feel like crying. I'm sorry, I know this is a voice note. Am I being okay? So you guys, this is the one I lived in. So you're speaking to someone with actual experience. So when you click on an accommodations website, this is how it would look. They would tell you about the accommodation and just a brief overview. The next thing is the price. You would see the price here. I don't like to bother myself with unnecessary things. Don't even try it. Don't worry yourself with like the number of places they have available. You don't have any control over that. But then just the price. You know how I've been talking about knowing how much maximum you can afford on an accommodation would really help you, because if let's say your price is 10,000, you just know that this is not for you, so you just avoid it. And then there would be pictures of how the accommodation looks. You guys, I swear, I love my video so much. I gave so much in-depth this thing about this accommodation, so you can check it out. So for example, let's click on, see, you can see the rooms, how they look. I'm sorry if I'm clicking too fast. I'm trying to avoid this video being too long, even though I know it would be. So this is the, well, actually, let me explain something to you. So you see, this would be an ensuite, or they have actually said it. So you see your room, and this is a more refurbished. So this is more like, it has more premium facilities. So just know that these type of rooms, when you see them look this nice with good lightings and good beds and doors, it would be more expensive. So this would be the toilet. This would be a wardrobe, the bed, mirror. So that would be an ensuite that has its own toilet. This is another angle of the room with the wardrobes and cupboard space and desk. Yeah, and this is the desk, chair. You guys, this chair, I had to pay a fine when I was leaving because they said I spoiled the leather, which I did not. And this is a shared kitchen. You know that part where I'm like, there would be 12 people sharing a kitchen? But these are people that would have their own toilets in their rooms, so they would just be sharing a kitchen. So this is how their kitchen looks. It's bigger than this. This is just one part of it. And this is a studio room. As you can see, it's bigger. So this studio room, the person would have their own toilet and their own kitchen in another angle of the room, but you can't really see it. Yeah, I think this is the toilet. This is the wardrobe. And this is the cinema room. This cinema room for this our building, it was horrible. Let me not even lie. The cinema room was nothing to write home about. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't nice. I wish they had carpets on it instead of, but these are bin bags, and it wasn't a TV. It was a projector. Yeah, so I didn't like it. But then, guys, I love the gym so much. I don't know why they tend to take horrible pictures because it doesn't look nice here, but literally the gym is really beautiful. Like, it's so nice, it's so comfortable and convenient. All the equipments that you need. They had 2 treadmills, 1 rowing machine, 1, I think 2 bicycles, something like that. And this is the social area. Guys, the social area is amazing. If you get this accommodation, you're so lucky. I had so many positive things to say about it, just few negative things. And this is another part of the social area. there was like the another part. As you can see, like the social area is so big. There's the tables and the kitchens, sorry, not tables and kitchens. There's this part that, so this door is an entrance to the courtyard, right? This place was always busy, people were always playing games, but here is an entrance to the kitchen, and there was an entrance to the study room. Behind this wall that's where the TV is, and then that was the entrance to the meeting room. So let's see, this is the kitchen. I had a study session there with my friends, and this is the laundry room. So as you can see, the facilities in this is the study room. The facilities in this building are bike room, they're more courtyard, they're more so this is outside of the building. So moving on, more information about the building. You can see here they would tell you the map view. Okay, another important thing I want you to note here, I need you to always look at this tenancy rate. It's very important, extremely important, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. And you can see, so there's an accommodation that I saw, and the tenancy was like September to July, which I don't think is realistic. So make sure that you don't accept. I think even in your application form, they would ask you how much tenancy you're willing to accept. I can't remember, or something like that. Tenancy length, there's one that I saw 38 weeks, except if you just want to be there for a semester. But if you want a full session, then it's not for you. So you see, this is 51 weeks. Even for 51 weeks, I felt like it was short. And then this is the most important things I want you to look at is the room type. My thing with websites is I don't want to stress myself with unnecessary information. So room type, before, I think they've changed it to a postgraduate accommodation, but I think before there used to be undergraduates, but that has changed now. So room type, tenancy length, your weekly fee, how much you would pay weekly, and your total fee. So these are the important things. Forget the available beds. Yeah, you know, it's then the catering, whether it's self-catered. Forget this whole grid. I don't know. I think it's not necessary. I think the money is the most important thing. So here what they're saying is an ensuite, the one where you have your own toilets. They're telling you it's self-catered, right? And then this is the tenancy length. So you would be there for 51 weeks. So from 13 September 2025 to 5th September 2026. If you're watching this video, for example, in 2027, it's going to change here, and they're going to tell you how long it is. Always look at that. And then this is the price per week, 238.70, and for the entire tenancy, that is 12,173. Then for the 2-bed flat, the price would change. For the studio, the price would change. Here, if you click on here, you can read what is included in your fees. Here you would see this is a sample tenancy. So this is like a sample contract. They're showing you what you would most likely be saying. Why isn't this working? So they're showing you what you would most likely be signing and what is inside it. Does that make sense? Okay, I think the link is wrong, something like that. Another thing that I want you to know is, you see this amount, this 12,000 something. Someone asked me in the comment section for my other video reviewing my accommodation, and they asked if you need to pay weekly. They don't allow you pay weekly. So what happens is you pay in 3 installments. If you're a postgraduate, after you pay that £500 when you get the offer, you're going to pay 40% of it by September, and then you're going to pay 30% of it in January, and then in April or July, I can't remember. But yeah, so don't think that they're going to let you pay monthly or weekly. So yeah, that's that. Further down is just more details about the accommodation. We don't need to go into it. Each accommodation would have a different this thing on their website. Let's look at the website for another accommodation. Let's look at the ones that have like lower prices. So we're being fair. Let's look at Hillside. Okay, so this is Hillside Woodside. That's the name of the accommodation. It's in Clifton. They said it's across the Clifton Suspension Bridge. This is a very famous landmark in Bristol. If you're new to Bristol, you should visit it. They're telling you it's 1.5 miles to campus, and it's self-catered. So these are how the rooms look. So you would see a huge difference. So you see, oh, can you see? So these rooms are single rooms and they have a sink in them. You know how they told us about it in that other distance. Sorry, yeah. And this is a twin room, so a room with two people. Oh my god, this there was someone inside when they already took the picture. Yeah, so this is the lounge area. This is the kitchen. See, this is the dining area. The stairs. I have a thing with toilets. I don't like seeing toilets, so I'm going to quickly skip it. I'm sorry. The post collection box. The laundry room. Have you noticed that there's a difference? So as you can see, this one has just 2 laundry rooms, but the other one I showed you had like 6 or 7. So you just get things just depending on your, this, I think they would call this their courtyard. And even for the bike, have you noticed like their bike storage is smaller than the other one that I showed you? So just keep all these things in mind with price. What is more like convenient for you? What can you ignore? What are your priorities? What are you comfortable with? This is just more information. So you see, it's 30 minutes walk to campus. But like I said, don't take this whole 30 minutes walk thing. Don't take it at face value. Make sure that you know what is your department, because it's just 30 minutes walk to campus, but then your department might be further in the campus than for you. It's like 60 minutes or 45. Yeah, so this is the outside view of, I think I've even actually, yeah, I've definitely been here. This is the outside view. It's also actually good to look at. So use Google Maps when you're looking at the accommodation. Look at the outside view. Sorry, my mouse is acting weird. So just look at the outside view, because then you can know, oh, like there's this cafe nearby, there's this cafe nearby. And these are the room types. I've shown you how to look at this table. You see this? The tenancy is 38 weeks. So this is for undergraduates, and then you leave in June. So you see, 13 September to 6th. So it's just 38 weeks. So for example, if you're someone who is an undergraduate and let's say after the semester ends, you still want to stay in Bristol, you don't go home, you would have to find a place to stay afterwards. You need to find another option because they won't let you stay all through till school resumes. So just keep that in mind. Should we look at one more residence that's like medium sized price? I think this is 7,000 something. Let's look at this one, Church Hill. So this is it. It seems to be a bit farther away from campus because it says 2.1 miles. Now let's look at the room. So this is a twin room. This is a single basic room. You see? One weird thing that I want to say is I really like their beds. They're comfortable. So my bed was bigger than this one, but just looking at it, it looked like my bed. And I don't know, I just found the bed comfortable. I just wanted to say that. And just see how even in the same building, that's that thing where they're talking about premium and basic. So even in the same building, you can have uglier looking rooms. So it's not just about the building. Let me show you something. So you see how here, where is it? Okay, perfect, here. So you see under this grade of room, so this basic is going to be, for lack of a better word, uglier than a standard room. Here they don't even have a premium. There's a place where there's a premium. So just when you're paying the prices, if you want a room that's just better looking, you know, you can decide to go for under the grade of room where they're like it's premium. Let's look for something else. I think this is the last one, then we would move on. But I think this video would not have been complete if you did not see like actually how the rooms are. That's why I'm still stuck on here. If you don't like it, you can just maybe, I would definitely put timestamps so you can just skip to other parts. Oh, let's look at Baddock Hall because I think it's interesting. It's catered and self-catered, so it's both. This is the first time I'm seeing something like that. It's in Stoke Bishop. It's also a bit far away from campus. It says 2.3 miles. So this is how the room looks. You see? Perfect example. So you see? This looks nicer. It's same building. This looks nicer. than this. Can you see the difference? You see? All in the same building. So you need to take into account that whether you want to do the whole basic or premium, you can write. Oh, so this is the catered. I really like this. This looks nice. I like the greenery. Wow, this is nice. So those are the dining halls. And then these are the self-catered flats, but then they're shared kitchen, but then they're only for the people who have paid for self-catered. So if you paid for catered and you're in this building, you would not be able to use this kitchen. That's the toilet. This is a shared bathroom. Oh God, I hate seeing toilets. You guys, I'm doing this for you. I don't even like seeing my toilet, talk less of toilets on the internet. This is the library, study room. Wow, this literally feels like a proper, I don't know, hostel or something. I like their laundry. They have a lot going on. Wow, this is their gym. Interesting. And the games room. Oh, interesting. A theater room. My accommodation did not have a theater room. Yeah, let's not get stuck on one thing. Let's go back to the website. And here they're reminding you that when you're putting in your application, you can tell them that you want to live near a certain place and just help them understand your location preference. So you can just be like, oh, I want to live near this place, yada yada yada. Another good thing, like I said, your department, just be like, okay, you can search, that whole map that I showed you. You can put in your location, find your department's location and look for accommodations near it, and then you can put that in your preference. And you see, the good thing is you can also provide up to 3 residence preferences. So you go to this thing, the view residence address, you look at all the options, you look at your department, where's the closest place, what is preferable for you, self-catered, catered, just stuff like that. And then you put that all under your preference section. And you should be fine. That would make sure you're putting in a lot of information in your application, so that it would reduce the chances of you getting a place that you do not like. Because when you put in 3 options, most likely you would get one of them. So those 3 options should be something that you would like or be okay with. Moving on. So guys, we've covered everything under the about our accommodation section. Oh, we didn't cover this one. I forgot. Let's do it. So basically they're telling us how it's like living in their accommodation. It's everything that we've covered, honestly. They're saying that each resident has different facilities and spaces you can use. Everything is going to be bills included. They're also telling us that if anything gets spoiled in your room, you can request a repair and someone would fix it for you. And they maintain the residents regularly. I can definitely attest to this. The accommodation I lived in, they were very fast with repairs. They have a lot of bus stops located near the residents. This is really true. There's a lot of bus stops around the city. The buses are not always reliable, but then, yeah. They also organize a lot of community events, like welcome events, just for bonding and for you to meet new people, especially if you're new. So that's good. The student union also organizes sports competition between residences, which is really good. And if you live in a student accommodation, there's also well-being, so mental health support that's specifically for students there, which is good. And lastly, security and safety. So from my experience, honestly, living in uni accommodation is definitely safe. I haven't, it just depends. What you might find unsafe might be depending on your location. If there are a lot of pubs and bars and stuff like that, so during the weekends there would be a lot of shouting from clubs or people smoking, just people being drunk. Yeah, but apart from that, it's definitely safe. You won't experience any serious problems, inshallah, hopefully. We're fully done with the about our accommodation section. As you can see, we've covered everything, all the main stuff. Then the next thing we're going to cover is applying for the accommodation, the process. So on this section of the website, they're just trying to explain to you who can apply for the accommodation, how to apply, and what happens if you get a room offer, and then there are how many steps? There are like 6 steps of everything, and we're going to go through them one after the other. So starting with step 1, the accommodation guarantee. So basically what they're saying is if you meet any of these terms, then you're guaranteed a room offer. So let's go through each of the terms. So the first one is you're guaranteed a room offer if you're an undergraduate student in the first year of your study. So it's your first year. Secondly, if you're a postgraduate student in the first year of your study, but you pay overseas fee rate. So basically, not just you being a postgraduate student, it has to be that you pay in the overseas fee rate. The third one is if you're an exchange student who started in September. Fourth one is if you're a study abroad non-exchange student who started in September or January. Next is students who are in their foundation year. And then international foundation program students, if you're also an intercalator joining an undergraduate course. If you're an intercalator joining a postgraduate course, but then you pay tuition fees in the overseas rate, you're also applicable. Then lastly, if you're an aerosol science PhD student, I think these people are special because it's so interesting, like it's so specific. Yeah, so if you're this, then if this is your course, then you're also guaranteed a room offer. But one thing you need to know is that even though you're guaranteed an offer, there are certain conditions that you must meet for you to get the room offer. So the first one is you have to apply for your accommodation by 30th June. Depending on when you're watching this video, so you always need to check the website to make sure that you're up to date with information, because for example, if you're watching the video in 2028, it wouldn't say 30th June, they might have a different date. The next one is you have to be sure that Bristol is your first choice, so you need to like firmly put Bristol as your first choice. The next one is be a new full-time student. So it has to be that you're a new full-time student studying at Bristol for the first time. I think this whole studying at Bristol for the first time is also a huge factor. You also have to accept the accommodation offer by the deadline. So when they send you your offer, they give you a deadline and you need to accept that offer by the deadline. If not, even if you're part of all these requirements, then they're not going to give you the offer, which is why I think they said that you need to be sure that Bristol is your first choice, because if it is, then you won't really have any dilemma accepting the accommodation offer. Then lastly, you must also be unaccompanied. So it has to be that you're coming without partners or any dependent. They've also said here that they might offer rooms that are not advertised in their residence. I think this is a very important point. So just know that you can always call, you can always send them an email if you have a certain requirement or you need something that they've not talked about on the website. Don't just zero your mind to it and be like, oh, it's not available. Drop a call, send them an email. And here is also important. They would always have a date that they need you to apply for accommodation by. So they can be like, you need to apply for your accommodation by this specific date. So for this year, it's by June, 30th June 2025. They also have non-guaranteed applicants, unlucky people. Sorry, I don't mean unlucky, but yeah. So they do not guarantee a room offer for these people who are under these requirements. It's not like they're not going to give you an offer if you're under this category, right? But then you're just not guaranteed. I think they call it a waiting list, something like that. So let's just quickly go through it. So if you have not firmly accepted the offer to study at Bristol, so this is not even about the accommodation, just your actual offer for your course. If you haven't accepted it by 30th June, they can't guarantee a room. If you apply through clearing, if you apply after 30th June, so this whole 30th June thing is just the benchmark, their deadline, so it changes for each year. So you just need to be making sure that you're having the up-to-date information. If you do not accept your room offer by the deadline, if you're also a postgraduate student who pays your tuition fees at the home rate, so you're not paying overseas fees. So if you're paying home rate, you're not guaranteed an offer a room offer. If you're also a study abroad exchange student who started in January, you're not guaranteed an offer. If you're accompanied by partners or dependents or family members, you're not guaranteed an offer. If you're a current, I think this is fair, honestly, but then if you're a current or former student who has studied in the university in person or online for any length of time, they cannot guarantee you an offer. But then there's something called returner accommodation, so you can apply for a returner accommodation instead. Yeah, so that's that. I find this sentence very interesting. So they're saying that if Bristol is your insurance choice, you cannot apply for accommodation. You can only apply for accommodation when Bristol is your firm first choice university. Yeah, so Bristol doesn't want to be the second choice. So I think this is fair. Another good thing is they also have a lot of information on their website about accommodation in the private sector in case if you do not get a university room offer. I don't want to get into it because it's a whole different world on its own, honestly, and it would take a huge part of this video, but I might cover it in another video. So we're done with this whole accommodation guarantee thing. The next thing is key dates. So key dates for accommodation applications. So this is basically talking about when you can apply for the accommodation and when they will respond to you. So we've already talked about who can apply for the accommodation in the other part. So everyone has their own category. When to apply. I keep repeating this, but dates would vary for depending on when you're watching this video. So if you are watching this video now, you cannot apply for university accommodation. Here they're just telling you when they would respond. So if you have an unconditional offer by 30th June, they would respond to you mid-July. And if you have a conditional offer by 30th June, they would respond to you 18th August. So it depends on whether it's conditional or unconditional. If you apply from 14th August onwards, the date they respond to you depending on how many other applications they receive. It's also very important to note that you cannot apply for accommodation between 6 p.m. on 28th July and 8 a.m. on 14th August. So yeah, that's that. I really don't know why this is. Maybe something with their website or system, but this might vary depending on the year. Moving on to accommodation terms. So they want you to understand what are the terms of their accommodation. So what is a tenancy agreement? A tenancy agreement is basically a legal contract between you and your landlord. So for you, if you're applying to university, the university is your landlord. So it's basically a legal contract between you and your university, which is your landlord. So the things that your contract would contain are the start and end date for your room tenancy, so how long you would be there. Secondly is the total cost of the accommodation and any terms that would come with your payment. So let's say how many times they need you to pay, the installment fees, everything would be on there. The next thing is your responsibilities as the tenant. So what do they need you to do? What do they expect from you? How do you maintain the property? Things they want you to do, things they want you not to do, stuff like that. And lastly, what happens if you move out early? So that means if you decide during your contract in the middle or close to the ending and you're like, oh, you don't want to live there anymore, what is going to happen to you? All these things are going to be included in your contract, basically the tenancy agreement. I have tried to open this PDF multiple times, but it seems there's something wrong with the link. So yeah, I am going to play this video for us so that we can have a brief understanding of tenancy agreements.
When you accept your accommodation offer with the University of Bristol via our accommodation portal, you are electronically signing a tenancy agreement. Your tenancy agreement is a legally binding contract between you and the university. It gives certain rights to both you and the university, who is your landlord. For example, your right to occupy the accommodation and your landlord's right to receive rent for letting the accommodation. It also outlines the dates of your contract with us, plus other requirements and expectations of you as a tenant. By signing your tenancy agreement, you are committing to pay the agreed rent for the full tenancy term, even if you move in after the start date. You can pay your rent in full or over 3 installments, whatever suits you best. Your tenancy outlines the steps you need to take if you decide to move out, including details on your rental liability. It's important to spend time reading and understanding your tenancy agreement before you sign it. You should not accept your accommodation offer unless you wish to stay for the whole tenancy period. If you don't understand any part of your tenancy agreement, please contact us before you sign it so that we can clarify the information. We want you to have the best living experience possible by being clear about.
Yeah, so that's that. Few things I want you to take away from this video is they're saying that you should make sure that you read the tenancy agreement. If you don't understand anything, you should contact them and they would explain it to you. They also said that you should make sure that before you sign the contract, you are sure that you want to stay throughout the duration of that tenancy agreement. And the last thing they said is you can either pay your rent in full or in 3 installments. So I previously said that you can't pay weekly, so this just confirmed it. So you cannot pay weekly or monthly. It has to be in 3 installments or just pay the full amount at once. You can also sign the contract online in your accommodation portal. There's also a student accommodation code, and it basically just talks about what to expect from the university and their responsibilities to you as a tenant. So it's all here. You can have a read through it when you have the time. There's a lot of information there. Let's not get into it. Here they're just talking about the length. So they have a full year. They have 38 weeks and 51 weeks. And you know how I told you when your course ends, your tenancy most likely also ends. So they have short-term private accommodation. They gave the link. I think the university also offers, there are certain accommodations that you can stay in, but then you would also have to pay for them and they're a bit expensive. Or you could go through the private accommodation route or Airbnb, stuff like that. Here they're telling you how to cancel your tenancy before or after the start date. So yeah, we're done with this part, and then moving on to the next one. So here they're just giving you a brief overview of how to apply. When the applications open, they would send you an email. You need to click on this link here, and then you would fill the application form. Unfortunately, guys, I can't log in. Before I used to be able to log in, but now I can't log in. That's so sad. But you would log in and then it would have all the requirements and everything. So these are the questions that they would be asking you in the application form. You need to give them your budget, the maximum amounts you can pay for accommodation, any needs you have, so any requirements. You can also request for rent reduction if you're a disabled student, if you fall under any of these categories, and they can't offer you a reduction if you fall under this. So back to the application form questions. Apart from the accommodation needs, you can also choose your preferred room type. So there's no guarantee that you would get it, but you can choose the type of room you want, the type of flat, catering, location, and then your top 3 residences. That's where looking through that list is important, where they have a list of all their accommodation. So you go through it and you choose the best 3 that you would like to live in. So after you apply, they would try their best to offer you a room that meets your budget and your accommodation needs. Most likely you would not get a room that meets all your preferences because they have limited accommodation, but then they would try their best. So here we're just going to click on this link that's going to tell us about room offers. They're basically telling you that they respond to everything by email, and depending on what type of student you are, you can click on each of these links and you would know when they would respond to you. Accommodation application. Okay, this is something that they've already covered. We've covered it here, so there's no need for that. Yeah, just have a read through all this. Everything would be done in your portal, so accepting and signing the document, everything would be in your portal. And if by any chance you decline or you don't respond to your offer on time, they would not give you another offer and you would need to find the private rented accommodation. And then lastly is before you arrive. So what are the things that you need to do before you move in? So there would be an induction in the accommodation portal that you need to do. It just contains all the information about where you would be living, the safety guidance, and how to get any support. You might also get a free bus pass if your residence has undergraduate rooms. So this bus pass has unlimited travels to most of the places in Bristol. So city centre, Clifton campus, just everywhere. Here they're saying that this offer might not be available to students who are starting in 2025 or 2026. So yeah, just check if the offer applies to you. They also have a travel to Bristol page that has guidance for students traveling from overseas. So if you're coming from overseas, you can go through this link. And this is also about insurance, so you should check the insurance cover for your residence, and if you need any additional insurance, you could get one. There's also here they're telling us what to bring and what is provided, so let's have a look at it. So if you're coming for your bedroom, you need to bring all these things. So beddings, towels, toiletries, bath mat. So if you're in an ensuite, a laundry bag, cloths or hangers, main extension leads. So people that get this accommodation, they do not need to bring any beddings or towels because they are provided. That's really nice. And then if you're in a kitchen for self-catered, you need to bring plates and bowls, mugs, glasses, cutleries, bottle, can opener, just basic kitchen stuff. Let's not. So what I would advise is just sit down and think, apart from everything they've said, when you're at home, what do you normally use? What is it that you use in your day-to-day life that makes you just happy? Because you're coming to school and you just would not want a situation whereby there are things that you crave and you don't have them, because uni can be very stressful. So yeah. So this is a list of things that they're going to allow you to bring. All this hair dryers, all these stuff, but then there are things that you cannot bring. So electric hot plates, air fryers, pressure cookers, you may just look at everything. So yeah, all these you cannot bring them. Here they are saying that you should not bring a car to Bristol unless it is essential. For example, because of a disability. I don't know if you can remember, but I told you about how most of the uni residents don't have parking for students, and even those that do, they're very limited, and sometimes it's even difficult to find parking around your accommodation. So you need to make sure that it's, honestly, even though I said the buses are late, the transport system in Bristol to me is really good. It's just that on some days that it can be annoying based on how the city is. So for example, because the city is hilly, and then sometimes during winter it can be very cold and hilly, but the city is very walkable. You can walk anywhere, honestly. And then the buses, there's a lot of bus stops, so the buses can take you everywhere. So it's not totally necessary for you to get a car, except if maybe for work, you would be traveling a long distance, or just you want to, honestly, just because you want to. But apart from that, you don't have to worry too much about transport, especially if you're staying in university accommodation. So yeah, that's that. We're done with this entire section. We've done so well, guys. This is so good. So we're actually done with this section. We've covered everything here. Next section we're going to look at is this current residence. Although, like I said, although most of the information on it is for people who are already living in student accommodation, but there are certain things that I think are a little important that I just want you to take note of. So we're not going to look at everything on here, just specific things that are relevant to you. The first part I want us to look at here is just student support. I just want you to have a brief overview of all the support that the university can provide to you. So for the first one is student finances. So if you're having any financial hardships or problems, honestly, it's anything. So they could help you with budgeting your money. Even if you're not able to pay your school fees on time, you can talk to them early ahead and they might be able to help you with a different installment plan. Just speak to them ahead. Also, if you have any financial hardships, so for example, you're not able to eat or get groceries, stuff like that, they can, I think there's an application that you can apply, and they might be able to give you a certain amount. I think it's around £250 or £500. So this is everything that they do on here. You can just have a look through it. You can also look at the bursaries and scholarship to see if you're eligible for any of them. As you can see here, they offer money advice. This is the hardship fund I was talking about. Let's just have a look at it, because I know there are a lot of students that struggle financially. So it's called Financial Assistance Fund, and this is for students who are experiencing any financial hardship, and they would give you a certain amount to help you with living costs. They have certain eligibility criteria. So these are it. Yeah, I don't want to have a read through everything because it's not mainly what this video is about, but I just wanted you to know about it. They could also give you food vouchers, as you can see here, and these are the level of money they can give to you. So depending on what your problem is, this is it. Yes, just have a look through it when you have the time. And so let's get back to the main thing we were doing. The next thing is your well-being and mental health. So these two, basically, they have a lot of support and links, either if you want to talk to someone or just have a read through their website, any specific problems you have, inquiries, any emergencies, just stuff like this. You can actually request an appointment with a well-being advisor, and you can talk to them about any struggles or challenges you're having in school or even outside school, and they might be able to provide support for you. I have realized that sometimes for me, when I was struggling during my masters, there are certain things that the university can actually make easier for you if you talk to them about it. There's a way they can make things easy for you, but if you don't speak to a well-being advisor, they cannot be able to do anything for you. So for example, even having extensions on some of your assessments or exceptional circumstances, maybe because of personal issues like someone dying in your family or health problems, instead of you just going through it alone, if you talk to a well-being advisor, they're able to refer you, and your department would most likely accept your application for any extensions or exceptional circumstances, because they can see that you've spoken to the well-being team. So yeah, just keep that in mind, and this is really good. This is for in general if you're a university student, not only if you're living in student accommodation, but for those living in student accommodation, we have our own mental well-being team that are for students who live in uni halls. There's also like here, there's also disability support if you're also struggling with your academics, maybe you want to transfer or suspend or withdraw. You also have personal tutors. I really loved my personal tutor a whole lot. And yeah, just as you can see, sexual violence support, IT, yeah, faith and spirituality. Yep, so that's that. Just wanted to put this in. And then the next thing I want us to look at is this residence guide. So for this, I'm not going to click on anything, but in this link, there's just a long list of all the accommodations that the university has, and you can click on each one of them, and you're able to see, for example, what they have, how the accommodation is, what they're offering, you see. So for each accommodation, you're able to look at it and see, okay, what is it that they have, whether it's close to uni, whether it's catered, self-catered, stuff like that. You know how I told you in your application, you're going to need to give the university a list of your preferences and your needs. So going through this list and seeing each and every one of them and seeing which one specifically caters to your needs and things you want would make it easy. So this is just a long list of all the accommodations that they have. So yeah, that's that. So we've touched on each and every one of these in the other sections. That's why I'm not clicking on them. And this accommodation context is just for you to know. So These are just links to people that you can contact if you have any problems. So I'm clicking on it just so you know that it exists and where you need to go to. So for complaints and concerns, and just for specific things, they have emails and lines that you need to reach out to. So don't just click any university email address and think you can send them anything or your complaints. Each department has specific queries that they cater to. So instead of just wasting your time and contacting a department that would not help you and they would have to refer you, which would take a longer time. So yeah, just take note of that. Another thing I want to show you is here. So there's this thing called emergency accommodation, and there's one thing I want you to know here. I actually used this. So this accommodation, so for example, if you're in a private accommodation or not a university accommodation and something happens, you like here, so unforeseen circumstances, fire, flood, your landlord, you have issues, you just cannot live where you are, you can call the university, and even if it's on short notice, they might most likely 100%, 99.9% be able to find a place for you in the university accommodation. So this is it. So these are all the information you have. So I think this is very important for you to know. Yeah, so this is it, emergency accommodation. You can have a read through it. So this is for even maybe after, if you never, this is just a good thing to know, if whether you're in the uni accommodation or you're not, just so that if anything happens, hopefully not, you know that there's a fallback on. Just know that your university is your sponsor. So any problem you have, basically, you can just go to them, honestly. Another thing is council tax exemptions. So if you're a student, a full-time student living in the university accommodation or even outside it, you're not supposed to pay council tax. Some landlords are a bit mischievous and they want you to pay it. If you're living outside the uni accommodation, you can apply for an exemption. In as long as you're a student, you don't have to pay for it. So this is all the university's information on it. You can find out who qualifies as a full-time student here. And this is the Bristol City Council website. That's if you live in your own house, so you don't have to pay for it, but then just in case, you can come on this website to apply for an exemption. Right here, they're saying that part-time students are generally not eligible for council tax exemptions. So it's very important that you have a read through everything and make sure whether you're eligible, so that you're not committing a crime and then later on you have to face some fees because you do not pay. So now we have covered everything. I'm back on the main page, and as you can see, we've touched on everything. The only thing we haven't touched on is this private rented accommodation section, and I think it's a whole long video on its own, which is why I don't want to get into it in this video, because it's going to be a longer video. So what's going to happen is I'm just going to explain this private rented accommodation section for another video, because if I decide to do it here, then I would most likely have to brush through things, because I would feel like the video is getting too long. So just keep that in mind and watch out for the video where I'm explaining what the university is advising you on renting private accommodation. That can be very tricky, honestly, and complicated. It comes with a lot of, you have to be careful so you don't fall into the wrong hands. You need to know the right information, stuff like that. There's a lot of rules. You need to know your rights. You need to know how to sign documents. There are just certain things like guarantors, knowing the right place to look for accommodation, stuff like that. Some houses are not in good conditions. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things, but like I said, I'll get into that in another video. And yeah, that's that. All right, so that's everything you need to know for the university student accommodation website. I really hope that this walkthrough helped you feel less overwhelmed and more confident about what to expect, what to look for, and just how to plan ahead. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's just a very important part of the website that really went deep into private rented accommodation. That's if you're not able to get the university's accommodation, because not everyone gets it. I have gone through that section and I feel like there's just so much valuable information on there. So I have made another video about it, so just check it out. If it's not up yet, then I haven't uploaded it because these videos take me so long to make. Oh god, it's just a lot. So yeah, I have made another video where I break that part down. I feel like that video is even longer than this one because it's just different websites, and I went deep into how you can avoid scams and what to look at in specific websites. We looked at different rooms because different websites have different interfaces, so there's just certain things that you need to look out for, just all that stuff. So you can definitely check that video out. I'll also link the video down in the description below. If you have any questions about Bristol's accommodation or the university, you can write them down in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer them. And also don't forget to watch out my student accommodation review video. And yeah, that's that. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you found the video helpful. Good luck in your house hunting journey. I know it can feel very overwhelming, but you've got this. Like, genuinely, just know that you're not alone. Everyone really faces this problem, and inshallah you'll find something that you really like and a good home. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.